Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. It is 9 o'clock Eastern on a Tuesday night, so you are here with us, or we are here with you, I guess I should say. I am Dave Schofield, co-editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, and with me, as always, is the big brother Rich. Rich, how you doing on this Tuesday night?
I'm doing very well, comrades. Oh, doing great out there, Steeler family.
Okay.
Sorry, I had my first dose of COVID vaccine today, so that was kind of my, the chip was off a little bit there.
The chip was. Gotcha. Well,
I did that I did that to my kids when I got home. They thought it was hilarious.
We'll leave that one where it sits.
Yeah.
Let's not open up that can of worms. But glad that you're doing well. Glad that you're doing good. I'm cold.
You know what? I'm going to mention one thing. You know what I'm really happy about?
What's that?
Okay. The NFL season went start to finish.
That was one of the things we were going to talk here. We are 269 up, 269 down.
That's right.
That's how many games the NFL was hoping to play this season. I remember in July and August, people coming on here, probably not the people that are here right now. Other people coming on here, and then people coming onto the website with articles. Why are you all still even putting out articles? There's not going to be any season. They're never going to get.
We'll be lucky to get 4 weeks in.
Yep, they're only going to get 4 weeks in, and it's going to be it. Now, did the Steelers kind of get screwed up with some of these games having to get pushed back? Absolutely. Yeah. But the longest pushback of anything was 6 days. Well, no, that's not true, because there was the postponements into bye weeks. But all in all, every game was played. No other sport, as far as I know, either collegiate or professional, can say that.
Yeah,
I'm incorrect with that. I'm sure someone in the live chat will let me know that everything else had to adjust their schedule. Now, remember, the NFL, they had the luxury of some time that they didn't have their season go until then. Now, some people are like, well, they didn't play the preseason. Yeah, well, they didn't play the preseason, but they played the regular season and the postseason, and the Super Bowl happened on time.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive when you stop and think about it.
Yes. I saw the final numbers.
Thank God for a little normalcy in our lives.
Yeah.
I was able to count on football on Sunday afternoons.
It's been the first time in, I think, 6 seasons that I was not at Heinz Field at all. But you know what? If that was the sacrifice that had to be made in order to be able to see the Steelers and actually be able to write about the Steelers this season, I understand. Now, we're going to talk about that because that's a really good point. They pulled it off. The 2020 season, they got it all in. So I already saw somebody asking a question. Mike Barrett asked this. Are they planning on having a preseason next season? Guess what? That is one of the many things we're going to be talking about tonight. That's what we're going to talk about tonight, because we'll get into that. I did an article. I always do it the day after the Super Bowl. I actually almost forgot about it. It ran the afternoon after the Super Bowl that counts down the days to various things. As with the NFL season, you've got this many days to this. I don't know if you all caught that or not. But if you didn't, it's there. But we're going to talk about that because I had to put a big disclaimer right in the middle of this article because they don't have everything scheduled out. And we're going to talk about that. But first, I've got to ask you the question. How many snaps of the Super Bowl did you actually watch? Zero. You didn't get it. You didn't watch any of it.
No.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Some people said it was great. I didn't think it was that great of a game.
But here's my take, okay? And my take is only from having to listen to other people. Mm-hmm. The game was boring.
Yeah.
The halftime show sucked. It was one of the worst years for commercials. I didn't miss much.
There was a couple good commercials, but not overall. There weren't.
When Tom Brady is named the MVP of the game, and he throws for 201 yards, that's sad.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but if you look at it, there wasn't the real MVP of the game. Was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. Honestly, if you really want to go with the MVP of the game, I've got the real MVP. They just can't do it. You ready? I want to know if anyone will disagree with this. You ready? Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They figured out exactly what to do and did it. And it's not that there was Devin White had a nice game. But there was a lot of defenders that had a nice game, and there wasn't any one defender that made that really big, or multiple big plays that you could say, oh, well, there's your MVP. This was one of those Super Bowl MVPs that, well, you got to give it to someone. So let's give it to the guy that threw for 3 touchdowns. And that was it. So I will tell you this.
Honestly, just looking at the box scores, if I'm giving it to the guy that had the best stats in the game.
You going Gronk?
No.
Oh, okay.
The person with the best stats in the game was Travis Kelce.
Yeah, that's true. He did. He did. He did have a lot of yards and receptions. Yep. But they didn't even score a touchdown. And that's the first time. I think they said it was the first time in his NFL career that Patrick Mahomes lost by double digits. It's the first time in his career that his team did not score a touchdown. There was a lot. Now, sorry, I got a tickle in my throat here, but there was for some time throughout the end of the regular season, I was saying, I think the Kansas City is ripe for the taking.
Oh yeah.
And people weren't. And I feel like I feel like part of the reason they made it to the Super Bowl was because of the Steelers, because the Steelers gave them the Browns matchup in their first round. That I don't know that Kansas City would have won a playoff game if they would have had to go up against Baltimore. I don't know, but we'll never know, because then Baltimore scores 3 points against Buffalo, but that was a bad matchup for them. So it's all about these matchups and everything else. So I do feel
the best thing to come out of the Super Bowl was the joke made about the streaker. The
streaker.
yeah, because he was going. They caught it. He slid down at the 1 yard line, just short of the end zone, but it was still closer than the Kansas City Chiefs got to the end zone.
Yeah. And that's another thing you got to remember is that Tampa got stuffed at the goal line in the first half, when going forward on 4th down. But and Thaddeus brings up, he said Leonard Fournette had a good game, but you know what? So did Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones, right? Did I get the right first name?
You did.
The other running back. Okay.
Yes.
Although he got stuffed at the goal line, so there was. Let's just say it was a team effort. It was a team effort. I watched the majority of it. I heard some of the halftime show because I'm busy doing other things at halftime, and because the music was on in the background, it was a situation where I only recognized one song, so I'm like, it didn't. I don't generally watch the halftime show. Usually, I'm trying to get kids to bed and things like that, so I can't really judge it because I'm sure Anthony Davis will have a lot to say about that Thursday night. But when it comes to the game itself, to bring it back to the Pittsburgh Steelers, if anyone was wondering why, when he came back from injury, the Pittsburgh Steelers chose to release Stefan Wisniewski rather than one of their other guys, all you had to do was watch the Super Bowl and understand why.
Yep.
And you didn't even see the Super Bowl, but you've heard enough about it. I think you're going to hear more about this from Jeffrey Benedict tomorrow night on the curtain call, because he dove into the all 22 and he's like, I shouldn't steal his thunder, and I'm not going to say anything else about it. And I hope he talks about it tomorrow night. But he sent this out to our Slack channel tonight. or today, and he said that if the Kansas City Chiefs in the third round of the NFL draft Kevin Dotson, they're Super Bowl champions. He's like, and I have the film to back that up. He's like, it was bad. I mean, the offensive line was so bad. I actually wrote an offensive line article, not realizing that Jeff wrote an offensive line article and realized that we covered the same thing. So I kind of got rid of mine and everything. It was not good. It was not good. They gave up. I mean, the amount of pressures they gave up. Mahomes was hobbled because of the toe that he's getting surgery on, I think tomorrow. And it was like a revolving door. Now, granted, Tampa Bay has a really good defensive front. They do. They have one of the best in the NFL. I'm not going to say the best because I'm going to say that's the Steelers. But there was times he was taken off for his life as soon as he was catching the shotgun snap. I mean, it was like they weren't even slowing him down. It was like a complete whiff, like they were untouched. It was crazy. And you're like, wow, that's bad. Yeah, well, but you also had to couple that with covering their receivers. So he really had no one to throw to. And I mean, it was like a fourth and I can't remember, 4th and 9 or something. They had to get to the 1 yard line for a first down. And he throws the ball to the goal. You probably didn't see this. He throws it to a running back at the goal line.
I didn't see anything.
Even on the highlights. I'm just saying.
I didn't even watch highlights.
And on 4th down, he throws it to a running back at the goal line. He just heaves it. And you're like, that didn't have a prayer. Yeah, it had a prayer. It doinked the running back in the face mask on a 4th down in the 4th quarter. Might have been 3rd quarter, but I'm pretty sure it was 4th quarter. And it was just, nothing was going right for KC. But interesting fact about Super Bowl. You ready?
Sure.
Every player that scored a touchdown was acquired by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after Tom Brady. None of them were on the team last year, and none of them were on the team before Brady joined in the offseason. 2 for Gronk, 1 for AB, 1 for Fournette. 2 of them were added during the season this year. And it's funny because some people are like, Tampa Bay showed the Steelers need to do what Tampa Bay did. I'm like, they added these guys during the season, and that's kind of tough to do. Doesn't always work out.
Again, looking at the box score then and seeing how those touchdowns were scored, I felt bad for Mike Evans and Chris Godwin.
Yeah. They're the guys that have done so much for that team for so long, and they weren't really – I mean, they were used some, but I think that was Kansas City's goal, was to kind of take those 2 out. And if they did, that was fine, but it didn't matter because that's just how it worked. Let's stop talking about this game. You didn't even watch it, but we had to at least mention it. It is only the most important game of the entire league for the NFL. You know, for us Steeler fans, we say it's not as important to us. But the biggest thing about this game, in my opinion, is that now the 2020 season is over. Yes, the Steelers have moved on to the 2021 offseason for several weeks now, but now everything in the NFL is into the offseason. All of it, every bit of it. So this brings the focus into it. So we're going to look at some of these things coming up. And like I said, I was surprised the NFL only has part of their schedule out for the offseason. So let's look at what we got. What do we have coming up? Okay, we've already got the waiver period that happens after the Super Bowl. That's going on. Okay, coming up in 2 weeks from today. This is Tuesday night. 2 weeks from today, on the 23rd, that is the first day where teams can use the franchise tag or the transition tag. So, on a little side note here, I told you we would have a side note. Think the Steelers use the franchise tag this year?
No, I don't think they do.
I don't think they do either. I don't think any of their players that they have are worthy of how much that 1 year contract would cost.
Correct.
For that franchise tag. I know some people are like, well, what about Dupree? You got to remember, was it 122% of what his salary was last year is what it is to be tagged again, or what the franchise tag is, whichever one is higher. So not anyone that's worth the money this year. Now, are you saying, well, you're saying Bud Dupree's not worth the money? No. If you can sign Bud Dupree to a deal that keeps his 2021 cap hit down, sure, go for it.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's going to sign that kind of deal.
Right.
So that's what it goes into. The Steelers, first of all, they're in a terrible salary cap situation. We know this. We always ask with what money. There's ways around it. They're going to make some cuts. They're going to make some extensions. They're going to do some things. Ben Roethlisberger, news could be coming anytime now with that of what he's going to do. But there's $22.25 million of that salary that even if he doesn't play, counts towards the salary cap. So there's just not a player there. Now, I had a player that I thought would be franchise tagged this year, but they signed him right before the season started, and that was Cam Hayward. I thought if they couldn't get the deal worked out with Cam, he could have been franchised this year in order to sign the longer deal. But luckily, they got it done last year before it was done.
I had to put this up there.
Thaddeus
says, I hope they franchise tag Jordan Berry just to make Jeff Hartman angry.
I don't even know what the franchise tag for a punter would be.
I don't know, but that is kind of funny when you think about it.
Just to make Jeff mad. I mean, you wanted to see. I mean, Rich, I'm pretty sure I'd have to go back to look that I heard it right. There was a 9-yard punt in the Super Bowl. And it was after the punter for Kansas City dropped the snap, got a good punt away, but in order to not get it blocked, one of the guys held someone, which was smart. I mean, I'm sorry, give up 10 yards for a hold rather than get your punt blocked if that's what's going to happen. That's actually kind of smart. But then he had such a bad punt on the next one, it ended up being a difference of like 40 yards of what it would have been. It was crazy. And that's when Jeff Hartman tweeted out, and I thought Jordan Berry was bad. So, there's really not someone on the Steelers to look that they're going to be using the franchise or transition tag on. It just doesn't seem to be in the cards this year. But that is the next thing on the schedule coming up for the NFL. So I said 3 days. It's supposed to be 2 days. That's a typo I just found. I'm going to have to go back and change this. That the league year starts on March 17th. That is the official beginning of free agency. For 48 hours leading up to that, teams can start signing. I have an article coming out tomorrow which highlights where ESPN did some projections of where they thought some free agents would go. I highlighted that, and I even highlighted one where they thought the Steelers might land one, which I thought was interesting. You have to make sure you check out BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers, for that tomorrow. So you've got the 2 days leading up to it. Then you've got the beginning of the league year. Then you've got off-season workouts for teams that have a returning head coach is April 19th. Now, if there's a new head coach, they get 2 weeks sooner than that. So I'm pretty sure that's your birthday. I'm pretty sure that's April 5th. So I know I just threw that out there, didn't I? Yes, that's what they can do that. Now, last year, all these things were canceled. We don't know exactly what's going to be going on with these things. So we already know that the combine is not happening in the same way. They're going to be doing a lot of stuff with pro days. So here's the first question to you. Do you think when April rolls around that they're going to be able to start off-season workouts? Do you think?
Maybe in a limited capacity, and by that I mean they might have to they may not be able to have the entire team at a certain time. They may have to bring them in position groups or things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering if they're going to be able to do some virtual things.
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to actually remember last year players weren't allowed at the facility, period. End of story. Couldn't go there.
Right.
Unless there was, something major going on rehab wise. I think might have been some exceptions, but I don't know that it's going to be that way, but I also don't think it's going to be how it was in 2019 and before that. So we'll see how those things go. Next up, we have the NFL draft. That is going to be very interesting to see. Well, actually, there's one other thing. I'll ask you this. Usually a week before the draft, you get the release of the NFL schedule. That didn't happen last year at that time. It happened after the draft. You think they go back to doing it before the draft, or do you think we're going to see our schedule released a little bit later?
Well, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you think it matters if it happens before or after? Do you think teams change how they draft because of their schedule?
No, it's just something for us fans to look forward to.
Correct. I have a feeling it will probably stay after.
Yeah, I think it'll be sometime in May is when it's going to be now. But the earliest you could possibly see next year's schedule would be about a week before the draft. But that's the earliest you're going to see it. So you have that right before the draft. There's also the deadline for signing your restricted free agents or giving them a tender. We talked about in the past. You and I don't think that either one of the Steelers' restricted free agents will be offered a tender.
Nope.
That's Ola Denier and Ray McLeod. Not that they're not going to be with the Steelers, but are they worth the more than $2.2 million for the season? That's the question. Because I brought it up because remember last year the Steelers had 5 restricted free agents.
Right.
They offered tenders to 2 of them. Do you know how many of them were on the Steelers last year?
All of them?
All 5 of them. Yep, all 5 of them. They had all 5 of them back because it was Zach Banner and Jordan Dangerfield and Cameron Canaday that were not offered tenders. They were signed otherwise. So, yep, that's what that was. So, interesting. Good to know. So, just because they don't offer them a tender, because a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, you got to tender them. You want to keep those guys. Not for that amount of money. You've got it. That's the key with those restricted free agents. So, then we have the draft. We know how the draft goes. The article was written yesterday where it was 80 days to the draft. So we are now 79 days away from day 1 of the draft. And the Steelers are expected to pick on day 1 unless they choose to trade out of that. So you ready for the draft?
Sure. Bring it on.
Yeah, bring it on. Yeah. A lot of what the Steelers need to do in the draft is going to be shaped over free agency. I said it a lot. Like the Steelers have 1 tackle from the 53-man roster signed right now. So you would think that tackle would be like the number 1 need, but you also got to say, are they going to sign any others? Is Gerald Hawkins going to be back? Is Zach Banner going to be back? Is there even a chance that Alejandro Villanueva would be back? All those guys, you sign 1 or 2 of them and that completely changes what they're looking for.
Sure does.
So now what's crazy is that's the end. That's the end of anything scheduled out by the NFL and the NFLPA for the 2021 season. They don't have anything else. They don't have the franchise tag deadline, which is usually July 15th. The transition tag is a week later. They don't have any of that. There are some things in the works. But Rich, why do you think they don't have anything? What are we waiting for? Why don't we have any of these dates ironed out?
I have my one and only thought to it is with everything kind of still being up in the air, why set a date right now for a certain point in time that you might have to change?
Okay.
If they can wait 2, 3, 4 more weeks to set that and feel better about setting those dates, then go for it.
When it comes to OTAs, they're going to be there. That they're going to be in flux. That they're going to be tentative. They're going to set it and all that, those things. I think they can still do the free agent stuff. They'll set it in stone. Here's the big reason. Are you ready? This is what I think. I think this is what's holding up everything. You ready? And this is really why we're covering this tonight. How many games they play next year?
8 million.
You know what I mean? Are they playing a 16-game schedule or a 17-game schedule next year? Are they going to be kicking it in? Then here's the next question. Are they adding that extra week at the beginning of the season and keeping the Super Bowl the same date? Or are they starting the season at the same time and pushing it off to the end? Because tentatively right now, there is a tentative Super Bowl date because of the venue. Now the NFL hasn't officially announced it, but the venue is booked for February 6th, 2022, SoFi Stadium, Inglewood, California. That's what's booked. Is that when they're going to schedule the Super Bowl, or do you think they're going to, or So first of all, I'll answer me this question first. Do we see 17 games in the 2021 season?
Yes. I think we do.
Okay.
I also think we only see two preseasons.
Okay, well, we'll get to the preseason a little bit. Okay,
because they're connected.
Yes, they are
in some ways.
So,
and the NFLPA is going to win their argument on that, based on the fact that there were no preseason games this year.
You're jumping the gun. We're not on preseason right now. I know.
Look. Let me put it this way.
No, because here's the question.
No. Okay. I want everybody out there in the live chat to get ready to agree with me. Dave is now yelling at me for taking over. The man who has dominated most of the mic time on this show tonight is now yelling at me for taking over the show.
I'm trying to get you to answer my questions. You ready?
I answered your question and then I elaborated.
I got you. Here we go. Kyle wants to know, who do we play the 17th game against? Are you ready? In 2021, if they have the 17th game, the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle Seahawks. Why would it be the Seattle Seahawks? It's going to be an NFC team. It's going to be from the division that you are 2 years removed from playing, meaning you didn't play the last season and you're not set to play in the next season. And it's going to be the team that finished in their division as you.
That you did.
Yep. Like they do with the other two AFC divisions that they don't play. So that would be for the Steelers, the AFC West, and the Seattle Seahawks. That's not set in stone.
No, but
there is
talk.
The proposal. So that would be most likely who it would be. Now, is it home or away? Don't know, because what they say they're going to do is they're going to rotate year to year between AFC and NFC, getting those home games. So that way, there's not going to be anyone in the AFC that has an extra home game when someone else doesn't. It'll be completely even across the conference. That's a good idea. I still like the whole notion that every one of these extra games should be neutral sites. And that's how you get your London games. And that's how you get your Mexico games, which hopefully that's another question I was going to ask you. Do you think the NFL was able to go back to having international games for 2021?
No.
I would not be surprised either. I would not be surprised.
I don't think they do.
Yeah. It just might be too much right now, having to go into it to just play it safe and make sure you get your games in. So you think there's going to be a 17th game. I think there'll be a 17th game. And I think the union's going to get on board for a 17th game. And my reasoning is everything to do with the salary cap. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. That's their way to, how do you want to say, work that number back up again.
Mm-hmm. Because trust me, the players don't want the salary cap to go down, because that means they're going to be guys are going to be making less money. Then they don't want that. So they say, hey, we can up the cap if we can get a new TV deal, and we can make a lot more money if we have that 17th game.
Yeah.
So I think it'll happen this year because of the money. And that's that. So we're going to get back to that preseason question, because that's going to be a good one, because that's going to have a lot to do with other things coming up, like the Hall of Fame game, things like that. And that's why I wanted to wait for it, because we got to talk about the Hall of Fame game, training camp, all those good things. But guess what? We've hit the halfway point. So we're going to go ahead and take our break, and then I'm going to come back and ask you your thoughts on those things when we come back. So if you're listening to the audio on the audio side of this, go ahead and click on over to part 2. If you're here with us on YouTube or Facebook, we'll be back in just a few seconds. And we are back, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, with the second half of the Scho Bro Show. I am the big guy, little brother, Scho Bro. This is Dave Schofield, co-editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. With me is my big brother, Rich. Rich, you doing good?
No, I'm awful.
You're awful.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
Football's over.
Awful. Yeah, football's. I'm like, it's funny. You didn't even watch the game, but yet
I'm still be sad football's over.
Because football's over. I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
But again, still will say it again, as I said at the beginning of the show. Thrilled that the NFL got in a full season.
Yeah, that's great. That's
hats off the NFL. Mm-hmm. Good job. Was it perfect? No. Mm-hmm. Did it work? Yes. There you go.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Now, I'm going to ask you this question. Is the FCS possibly playing spring football? I know that was a possibility at one point.
I haven't
canceled their stuff.
I haven't looked.
Yeah, I haven't either. I just know because of the draft and those players coming out, how that messed some things up, that you might see some spring college football. I don't watch a lot of college football anyway, but I'll be honest with you. That might be brilliant because that might make me watch. It's going to be some football on. So I hit the wrong one. If Steeler Chick 46 says yes, Dave, I'm assuming they're answering that question. So
I just real quick pushed up, and it looks like there are some conferences that are looking to do that here in the spring.
Steeler Chick 46 says Northern Iowa starts football February 19th. Interesting, because I know that's kind of what happened. So yeah, I almost forgot to ask you that one question that someone just brought up, but we'll get to that. We're looking at the dates for the NFL that they haven't set yet, and I think you brought up. I think it's twofold. You brought up the first one, which was why set dates that you might have to change, dealing with stuff and OTAs and whatnot. I also think it has to do with the possibility of the 17-game schedule. So, Rich, if they go to 17 games and the fact that the NFL did not have a preseason last year, are we going to look at a change to the preseason in the NFL going forward?
Absolutely.
Okay. And you believe that change will be?
2 games.
Okay.
I think the NFLPA, there was a lot of talk about, hey, if we go to 17 games, we got to cut back on preseason. And if the NFLPA ever got their argument that can happen, it just happened.
Yeah.
This year. So there's maybe going to be a little give and take there. We're going to get, with the owners saying, hey, we're not going to fight you on the 17. Can we get it back to 2 preseasons? The owners probably say, yep, that's fine. And it ends up just happening.
Yeah. Which means it's going to make that very interesting, because the one thing I asked, and we talked about it, but we didn't really say it, if they're going to shorten the preseason. Now, I know there could be a problem with college football and everything there. Does the NFL add their extra week at the beginning or at the end?
At the beginning.
Because of the no preseason or fewer preseason. Okay. That's how I would like to see it, because then you're talking about Labor Day weekend. You're having Labor Day weekend as your kickoff, which would be pretty cool, in my opinion.
Yep.
I know Brian Anthony Davis would like to see them added at the end, and them to maybe even add another bye week, which I'll talk about that in a little bit, and get the Super Bowl on President's Day weekend, which actually they would only add one more week for like this year, because President's Day is coming up. Because he feels like, hey, if you're going to have the Super Bowl on Sunday, it'd be nice for people that had the day off the next day. I've still seen arguments of people saying that the Super Bowl should be on Saturday.
Yeah, see, I don't get that day off. That's a floating holiday.
Yeah. So I could see arguments either way. I think you're right. I would like to see them add at the beginning. The only question that I have is does that affect stuff with with agreements that they have with college football and everything else? So interesting. So
Yep.
this year, the Steelers are once again scheduled to play at the Hall of Fame game. The Hall of Fame game is scheduled for August 5th. That's a Thursday, because then you have which one are they doing first? I think they're doing the 2020 class on Saturday and the 2021 class on Sunday. I think is how they're working it. There's because remember, they didn't have it last year. It's going to be a huge weekend, huge Steelers weekend. We didn't even talk about the announcement of the two Hall of Famers from the Steelers elected this past weekend. I wrote two articles. One for Alan Faneca getting in, and one for Alan Faneca getting snubbed again. But both articles had Bill Nunn in. Because if they didn't elect Bill Nunn, I was going to write the biggest rant of an article I might have ever done. And I'm like,
I know.
It's one thing for them to just kind of not acknowledge what he did for the Steelers for the longest time. But then to actually bring him up and to specifically vote no, who in their right mind would do that when you saw what he did for the Steelers?
Yeah, I don't know.
So I'm glad Faneca got in. Frankly, he should have got in 2 years ago. He should have. He was better than the last two linemen that were in. He's had more accolades, more Pro Bowls, more All Pros, but he didn't get in. But it's kind of nice now to have him, and they'll have Bill Nunn, then Donnie Shell, Bill Cowher, Troy Polamalu, Steelers playing that weekend. Boom. That's going to be a huge thing. Do you think they'll have fans by August?
Yes, I would guess we could be pushing close to half capacity.
Yeah. And I know people that had tickets last year that hopefully that they can still have them for this year. It should be great. So we brought up the Hall of Fame stuff mainly because we want to see if that weekend happens. Now, here's the other thing. If the NFL decides to go to 2 preseason games and they let's say they decide to put the extra game at the 17th game at the end of the season, that means they're not playing their regular preseason games until, oh my goodness, it would be, let's see, their final preseason game would be Thursday, September 2nd. So you're talking like the very last weekend in August.
Dave.
What?
That's a slightly flawed thought.
Okay. What's that?
Who says you have to play the 2 preseason games in the same way we played preseason games?
That's a great point. I was going to just ask you
Why not, play 2 games, but instead of playing them in weeks 3 and 4, where you would have under the previous setup, why not play them in weeks 2 and 3?
2 and 3. Or 2 and 4.
There you go.
Why not play a game and have 2 weeks in between? You know what? Here's even, I got a better one. Well, no, you don't want to have it. That could get a scheduling nightmare because you wouldn't want to do it with teams that were matched up the first week. But you could even spread out those preseason games to where basically what they usually do is have everyone play the last one. But I could see them spreading them out to where they could get more coverage on like NFL Network and things like that. They could space out these games more and be able to show more of them nationally.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So we could still play 4 weeks of preseason football. Everybody play in week 4. And
other games sprinkled in there somewhere.
I mean, technically they could.
I mean, especially look at the Steelers, because my question was, would they move the Hall of Fame game if the Steelers and the Cowboys this year would be scheduled to play and then have like so much further before when everyone else would play. So I don't know that they would move that.
I don't think they moved the Hall of Fame game because I don't think they're going to change when everybody comes into camp and all that.
Well,
it could stay right where it's at.
Hall of Fame game, the teams that play in the Hall of Fame game, they come back to camp sooner.
Right. But what I'm saying is they don't have to change what the league has usually done.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So have them come in the week before like they normally would, play the Hall of Fame game, and then however they decide to work out their preseason stuff.
I have never figured out why they make those teams play an extra game. I really have not.
Right. Why is that not just their week?
Why is that not their week one and then they don't play a week one game? I've never understood that. Why they had them playing an extra game. I don't know. Maybe that's something, maybe there's a reasoning behind that, but maybe that's something the NFL and the NFLPA can work out. But yeah, I mean, obviously the Steelers are probably going to have that for at least this year. That is an extra game. They might change how they schedule the Hall of Fame stuff in the future around that might not might change up how that works. Very interesting that they have all these other things. So we have an idea that we think that the NFL is going to be changing these things up, and that's why there's no dates. We pretty much have the consensus of 17 games. Yep. They could go 3 preseason games.
They could. I have a feeling that the NFLPA would hold out for 2.
And I think 2's good. I think 2's good. My proposal for this, which I actually proposed before I even joined BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, and then I even put this proposal on Behind the Steel Curtain. So this was, I can't remember. So this has now been 3 seasons ago or something like that. I proposed a 17-game season. The whole reason I wrote this article was Jerry Jones had come out and said, I think we're moving towards an 18-game season. And I said, how about a 17-game season? And my proposal said, drop a preseason game. And I actually like the notion of dropping 2 preseason games. You add an extra game. You add an extra bye week. I like adding the extra bye week, and every team has a bye week before their Thursday game. That would create so much, help with so much with them talking about the health of the players and everything like that. Then, you play on a Sunday, you have the next week off, but then you play on the Thursday. They could schedule that. That would not be that hard to schedule, that you get 2 bye weeks, one of which is a regular bye, one of which is a bye week before your Thursday game. And then my proposal was that extra game wasn't a home or away game, that they were all neutral field games. And the reason I did that at the time, it was the same proposal of playing a team you were 2 years removed from playing, from the other conference that finished the same. And when I wrote this article, it just so happened that it would have been that the Steelers would have been matched up against the Eagles. And then my idea was play that in Happy Valley.
Yeah.
Play that at Beaver Stadium, which has a larger capacity and is partway between the two. And my goodness, that would be great. I would love to see some, if taking these extra games, they don't have to be outside of the country. They could be like before a team got put in Las Vegas. I'm like, it'd be great to see games played in Las Vegas. What about St. Louis?
Had a team, didn't have a team, had a team, doesn't have a team.
Play a game or 2 in St. Louis every year. I'm sure you're going to sell out just because people would like to see a game. Especially depending on who you're doing. What was the other one? Someone had a good matchup for the Big House in Michigan. I don't know if it was but it was like 2 teams that were that it would have been good geographically and stuff like that. I think some of those would be pretty interesting. Brad, who is still at, I don't know if he's still physically at Penn State, but I know was there. He said, let me tell you about Beaver Stadium. So,
hold on.
I thought
you missed his next comment.
I haven't seen it yet. Immaculate. There we go. Yeah. So I thought those would be some pretty interesting. Oh, and then I click on it again. So I have one last question that I want to ask you about the upcoming season. Actually,
Sure.
I have more than one. I'm going to get to the ultimate one. We'll see that for a second. And we might even ask everyone this one. There were some changes in the NFL this year because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Do you think some of these changes that were just for last season, do you think they stick around? I'm going to give you some examples so you can address them individually.
Okay.
It was supposed to be a 12-man practice squad this year. It was expanded to 16. They allowed up to 6 veteran players on the practice squad. They allowed the practice squad call-ups. I'm pretty sure that was new regardless of COVID, but then you had the COVID call-ups as well. So that wasn't as much of an issue. Do you think they might keep the 16-man practice squad?
It might not be 16, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it expanded.
Yeah. So I mean,
maybe it's a 14
for a year or so. Okay.
Yeah.
What about the whole veteran thing? I kind of like that.
Maybe.
I kind of like that because I'm pretty sure that was a COVID thing that was not specifically new to the new CBA. Right. I'm pretty sure that was because of COVID.
It was nice. Yeah. Again, because it's to the practice squad, you can't really abuse it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you could, I don't know, pick somebody. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You couldn't sneak someone like Joe Hayden. You couldn't sneak into your practice squad because somebody would have just poached him.
No. I mean, they did Big Dan really, McCullers for a little bit until he got signed.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's like you put.
Thank you, Chicago Bears, by the way, so we don't have to talk about Big Dan anymore. Go ahead.
You put guys there that you were okay if somebody came and got.
Yeah.
But you felt would maybe add some depth to what you had. I think it showed that it can work. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it stick around.
Yeah. Okay. Occam's Ox brought up a good point. He said it would be silly to just dismiss the changes they made until COVID isn't an issue anymore. Completely agree with that. I guess what I'm saying is, do they adopt these things regardless of COVID? Do they adopt these things permanently? I think they like these practice squad stuff this year.
Yeah, I think it worked. I think it was helpful. I mean, who knows when suddenly, you don't have any quarterbacks who can play, so you're playing a wide receiver. Oh, wait, that was just
yeah, that's still happened. So, I hope they do these things. I like them. I liked seeing somebody like a Deion Kane, who unfortunately signed a futures contract with the Ravens, or a Wendell Smallwood, or someone like that you were able to keep around on a practice squad. J-Ron Elliott, perfect example.
Versus just sending them home to sit on their couch to wait and see if somebody calls them.
Yeah. You don't want your practice squad full of those guys.
No.
And that's why they're limited.
Correct.
I liked the way the practice squad worked this year. I really hope that they keep a lot of that stuff. So now it's down to the ultimate question. Someone brought it up. I was saving this one for last. Week 1, Steelers, you shouldn't have to worry about the Steelers playing on the opener, the Thursday opener, if they do it as they normally do, because that will be in Tampa Bay. The Steelers don't play Tampa Bay this year.
Right.
So they're going to be playing either on Sunday or Monday. Whenever this game happens, chances are it's going to be on the road because the Steelers have opened on the road, like 6 straight seasons? Crazy long streak. That's just kind of I wonder if they ask for it even, that they want to open on the road. Regardless of where it is. Now I know it's different in different places. Are there going to be how many fans? I was going to say, are there going to be? And I'm like, that's not the best question, because other than in Pittsburgh, other than Pennsylvania, they pretty much were. How many fans? What percentage of fans would you say are going to be in the stadiums week 1 of 2021? There's really no way to tell right now. So it's a flat up guess.
50%.
You think they can get to 50?
Yep, I do.
I was going to throw out there 40%. So that's question number 1. Question number 2. Do you think they get to 100 by the end of the 2021 season?
Does that include playoffs?
Yes.
Playoffs.
We're talking about playoffs? Playoffs?
Yes, I think they do.
Okay. I don't know that they will everywhere, but I think there might be some places where they do. So I think we're going to find out more in the next month if there's any problems from the 25,000 fans at the Super Bowl. That's the biggest. You know that there's going to be places covering that because there was a lot of places wanted to criticize that the NFL had that many fans there. So they're going to be looking to see if that's going to be a problem. So that's just kind of what it is. So I'm optimistic. I'm hoping that I will be back at Heinz Field in 2021, sitting in section 122. I hope that that's still there. Even I'll be honest with you, even if it's 50% and I get half the games, I'm good with that. Yeah. Hoping that, I'm hopeful that things are going to be progressing in a better way just because of how they go. And we'll see how it goes. So anything about the upcoming season that I didn't bring up that you wanted to bring up about this stuff?
Well, you brought up about sitting in section 1, whatever it was.
122.
I'm hoping that I get to sit in section, I hope my nosebleed doesn't kill me.
Yeah. You're 523,
I think, maybe.
I don't know, one of those. Yeah, one of those. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. I mean, there's a lot for the NFL to work out, but these are the things that this is the news that we're going to be getting this offseason. And for those, I love it that the doom and gloomers, no offense, doom and gloomers, even if you're out there.
No, you know what? The world needs some doom and gloom.
Yeah, you know
why?
Sometimes you keep people in check.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. So for the people that were doom and gloom about the 2020 season, because they got everything in, I don't have any reason to question that they're not going to also get in the 2021 season unless new major things completely change. I mean, come on, if the asteroid hits the Earth tomorrow, that would change everything. You know what I'm saying? There could be major changes because honestly, just like COVID-19, that was a major global change of things. It would take another major thing like this in order to, I think, to really hold it back. Even if we're still dealing with the same issues, the NFL showed that they could deal with this and that they could still get their entire season in. And it was fantastic that it happened. So Rich, we've got about 5 minutes left. You want to see if we can get a couple questions out of there?
Yes, I do.
Okay, we are going to ask for questions for the first time in a long time.
Probably since August.
Yep. So we're going to throw it out there. We'll answer a few. We're probably not going to get to many. We'll answer a couple, and then I always like to throw a question out there to everyone else to finish up the show that I like to read off. I was like, I didn't get any, but then I realized that my live chat had stuck. Okay.
Yeah, so did mine. There we go.
So, but just because Thaddeus said, that zombie virus next season will stop, that's going to stop the season. So, Tyler W. He says this: if we can't afford Ben, what do we do at quarterback?
People aren't going to be thrilled about it, but my thought is if we can't afford Ben and Ben doesn't come and play next season, it's up for grabs between Mason Rudolph, Dwayne Haskins, Maybe Joshua Dobbs. Who knows?
Who is a free agent, so we don't even know if he'll be back.
All right.
So, yeah, the plan, if it's not Roethlisberger, is Rudolph until it's not. Whether through him having not being able to do as well, or someone else doing better. So that's just how it is. Why are you laughing at some of these other ones? I know Occam's Ox is how long since the Browns took 3 of 5 against Pittsburgh?
Probably been quite a while.
I have no idea. I'd have to look it up.
Jim Brown was probably playing for the Browns.
No, I mean in the 80s, didn't the Browns kind of own the Steelers in the 80s?
Yeah, for a little bit, but I don't know if it was quite that lopsided. I don't know.
Yeah. Steelers Pittsburgh wants to know, has the salary cap been officially released?
No.
It has not. And
There's
the reports are
speculations
that it's going to be more than the 175 million. But there was even a report that it might not be released until right before March 17th.
Yep.
I mean, I think the teams will have a pretty good idea. So Kyle wants to know when he'll get paid.
Yep.
And the answer to that is whenever I actually place another order. Okay. Cree wants to know. Cody, come on. Stop.
That was my mistake. Sorry. My bad.
Like, do you two always argue like at the beginning of the show? Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, you get a show. You don't get a show. This is just us.
This is us. I mean, sometimes we forget people are listening.
We always fight. We always fight and bicker and all that. Yeah. I mean, gee whiz, Dave and I used to share a room the size of, a
walk-in closet,
a dining room table.
Yeah, until I got so large that it just was almost physically impossible. Ryan Kellerman wants to know, do we re-sign Juju?
If the price, as Roddy used to say, if the price is right,
come on down. Do I think they at least make an offer? I do. Do I think he's actually going to take it? I do not. Okay.
Yep.
Thaddeus wants to know, Cam Sutton or Mike Hilton?
If you're making me pick between the two, it's probably Cam Sutton.
Cam Sutton is more versatile.
But I'd rather have Mike Hilton.
Yeah. So I've brought it up. I don't know that Mike Hilton fits with a lot of teams, how they would use him. What did we call him? What did they say the one time? He's a was it a slot backer or something like that? Yeah. So I almost said nickel backer, but I shouldn't say that. I knew that wasn't right. Cam Sutton does more versatility. Mike Hilton fits a very specific thing. Both of them. I'm going to say Sutton because I think they can maybe do it. Okay.
Yep.
Gyro wants to know what we think is the next or the most likely out of the box move the Steelers can make.
Really, if you want to know what I say is out there and out of the box, would be to walk away from Ben Roethlisberger.
And I don't think they're going to do that.
I don't think they are either, but that would be, it's not 100% that they won't. So that would be out of the box. So,
yeah. By out of the box, they actually find a way to sign not a top tier, but a free agent that we would not expect otherwise. Last year, I didn't think they were going to be. I'm like, Derek Watt, they're not going to sign Derek Watt. They signed Derek Watt. Eric Ebron, they're not going to sign Eric Ebron. And they signed Eric Ebron. That there's, and you're like, oh, they're in bad salary cap shape. I bet you they find a way to sign somebody that right now you'd say, oh, that's crazy. They can't afford them. I can't tell you who or even what position that is because it's probably going to be something that the Steelers, they're going to probably have to walk away from some of these guys that they're going to be releasing sometime. Yeah. Kaysen wants to know, Juju, Bud, Connor, over, under 1.5 of them back.
Under.
I'd be shocked if it's even one of them.
Yep.
Andrew wants to know, any chance they break a trend and trade back? Then they ask about certain people. Davis Mills. I don't even know who that is. I got to go look that up then.
Yep. Thanks.
So
I'm not quite ready for the draft yet.
unless
And
I've
I don't
actually
watch,
already,
and I don't watch college football. So.
yeah, unless I've already covered him in a mock draft Monday, chances are I don't know who they are. But could they break the trend? Sure. Do you remember the last time the Steelers traded back?
Oh man.
Michael Beck asked this in the Slack channel, and I knew the answer.
Oh, well, aren't you just Mr. Smarty Pants?
I was shocked that I do this.
You're going to tell me when I'm going to be like, oh yeah.
They traded back in 2001, 3 spots to draft Casey Hampton.
That's right.
They traded back with the Jets. The Jets took Santana Moss.
Yep.
And you're like, well, then who went the 2 picks in between? One of which is now a Hall of Famer, but Alan Faneca should have gotten in over him last year. That was Steve Hutchinson. But can you imagine if the Steelers would have drafted him? Yeah, that'd have been crazy. But no,
yeah.
Gotta love Big Snack. So that was pretty good. So I
really doubt we trade back. I have a feeling we just stand pat and draft in our spot.
I know some people are like trade up, trade back. Probably like that. I'm still looking for some questions and not answers.
It really depends on. I think that whole trade up, trade back will really depend on what the Steelers board looks like.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, I'm trying to.
Well, you better put this up there, George.
Yep.
Gave $5. Said this is for Kyle.
That's for Kyle. All right. It's going.
Just so everybody knows, Kyle asked his uncle to pay him with a BTSC shirt.
I'll be honest with you, Kyle didn't do enough work to earn a shirt, but I'm going to get him one. And I already got him a shirt. He just
wait a minute. You're saying that. See, what you don't know is there is a chance at some point that Kyle is going to be a guest on a show.
Yeah, I know. So I know. So we're working on it. Kyle didn't even give me a size yet. So we got to work on that.
Not as large as
me. Yeah. Well, I don't place orders because they don't go up to my size. That's why I don't have any more BTS.
Well, that's why Kyle. That's why Kyle put it in here. He's like, he's got a shirt that you gave him 2 years ago.
I know it's probably
Kyle's
might fit on one arm.
Kyle's probably close to 10 inches taller than he was 2 years ago.
Got it for him when he was just little. It was little Kyle before. All right, Cree wants to know, will the Steelers get something done with Ben? Yes. Doesn't mean it's a new contract, but they'll be the odds of Ben Roethlisberger just playing in 2021 on the last year of his contract the way it is now, I think if the odds of that are extremely slim. They're going to either get some kind of deal done or they're just going to part ways. So that's just what it is. I mean, like some people are like, oh, well, you could say the 19 million. Yeah, but you're paying 22. You're not paying him, but it kind of stinks to have that much money from one player. I don't even understand.
I'm skipping way down because I saw this question come up and I think it's hilarious. It's from Rich. Does paying a player in Bitcoin dodge the salary cap?
It doesn't, because the NFL had a player get paid in Bitcoin this year. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Russell Okung had part of his salary paid in Bitcoin. Isn't that crazy?
Crazy.
That's crazy. Yep. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Did you see that? We're actually running out of time. I'm going to then, because skip over some stuff. Just sorry that we didn't get to all your questions, but we wanted to at least get to some of them. So I'm going to ask you a question, and it might have been something I already asked just because we want to throw it out there, unless you want to do it this week. Do you have a question that you want to have just a real quick answer from those out in the live chat? If not, I'll do it.
No, do it. I'll get one for next week.
Okay. This is something that we talked about. And
I have a feeling you're going to ask what just popped into my head to ask.
What's that?
Nope, go ahead.
I'm going to ask, how many preseason games do you think the NFL is going to adopt starting this season?
Okay.
Just type in a number and we'll read them out there. How many preseason games? Do you think they're going to stick with 4? Do you think they're going to cut it back to 3, to 2, to 1, to 0? What do you think? Okay, Cree asks, what is Bitcoin? That's funny.
Yeah, I like
okay.
that.
So here you go. Gyro says 2. He agrees with us, 2. Kyle says 27. I'm missing them already. Steeler check 2. Andrew 2. George 2. Okay, you know what? We're getting a lot of people that agree with what we said. Yeah. Okay, Felicia says 2. Hey, Felicia. Okay, Cree says 2. Brian says 4. He thinks they're going to stick with it. Okay, Tyler says 3.
And I like
the total will be 20. I like his argument.
There is pretty good.
Okay. Steelers Pittsburgh says 2. Ron says 2. Thaddeus 1.5.
Thaddeus, you taking the over or under there?
Yeah.
So
Todd says 3. Richard says 3. Ryan Kellerman says 3. So we've had very few 4s. I don't see anyone thinking that they're going to go away to none or to none. Okay. Because some people would like to see that. Cecil says none. Okay. Andrew says, let's go 8 preseason and 12 regular season. So yeah. And let's go 8 preseason, but let's have 6 of them count. Tom says 3. I don't know if it's the same Brian because I didn't see the last names. Brian says 4. Okay. I keep saying Carson. I think it's if I'm wrong. Kaysen says it's more likely 0 than 4. That's pretty good.
You know what? That's an interesting take, and I can see why you would maybe say something like that.
Yeah. Cecil said 3. I might have skipped his. I don't know.
No, you said he said none.
Oh, he said none? Oh, sorry.
No, you said he said none when he actually said 3.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
It was your mistake, not his.
Yep. Oh,
Own it.
Of course it's my mistake. Yeah. I didn't even know I said none. AJ says 3.
Yep.
So I could see 3. Okay.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of the
Linwood
2.
says 3. A lot of people said 2.
A lot of the 2 to 3. Like I said, I'm going with 2 because I think the NFLPA could make the argument to get that number down. Mm-hmm. I would more likely think the owners would be more willing to do 3.
Yeah.
I think the big negotiation point would come down to the 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So
I've also thrown it out there, but people will hate this idea. If you're worried about getting your players enough playing time, so that play an extra quarter, but players are only allowed to play in 3 of the 4 quarters to get more playing time for your players. But a lot of these guys, they don't even want to play them. So what's the point? I mean, you have to admit, what is the preseason more about? Is it about getting your team ready for the regular season, or is it about figuring out who you're going to have shape the bottom of your roster? Honestly,
it's who you're going to have shape the bottom of your roster.
It is more about that. Okay. Hey, Thaddeus just said it. Like I was saying, play a 6-quarter game with a 90-man roster. And the players are limited with the number of quarters they can play. So, so was that going to be your question? That's what George wanted to know.
No, that was not going to be my question.
Okay.
I'm going to hold my question for next week.
Oh, good. I want to get you more involved. I've done this. We knew it was always the scores, and I always had asked you and everything. So, I want to get you doing this. This is good. Hey, this was a lot of fun tonight. Even though you bust on me, but I'm used to that because that's what you do.
I've always busted on you.
You've always busted on me, and I've always talked more because I'm the smarter one. So that's just
no, because you have a bigger mouth and are louder,
and because I have more to say that I have to get off my brilliant mind, right?
I was going to say perhaps maybe your massively larger chest, but
there you go. Kyle brought up a good point, which is true. If there are 6 quarters, then they ain't quarters. I've said that before when like in youth basketball where they say we play 6 quarters in our game. I'm like, no.
I only have one thing to say about that, Kyle.
Nerd alert. Oh, that's too much fun. Hey, thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to keep coming all off season because this is fun and this is what we do. And we look forward to seeing you all. It brings me so much joy to when I bring up the show I send the message to Rich to say, hey, it's ready. And before Rich can even get all the way in here and set up to go, it's already up on YouTube and people are waiting. And you see the comments of, I've been waiting for this all day. When you see something like that, that's why we do this. That's why we do this.
I hope they don't mind listening to us, because if they were waiting all day to look at us on YouTube, they have problems.
No, well, right there, Steelers Pittsburgh. I brought it up. Big Bro Scho is more handsome. You know what?
That's not saying much comparing me to you.
Exactly. It's like like you're the. It's like you're the cleanest pig in the pen.
There you go.
So, but it's a lot of fun. Hey, we're still coming at you with all the same content. Some of the shows, the names have changed, but other than that, they're basically coming at you the same. We've got, because of of Tony moving to Friday nights, you have YouTube shows every day. They're basically around 9 o'clock every weeknight. I know Monday nights usually go anytime between 8 and 9. On the weekends, you've got the Touchdown Under around 5 p.m. You've got the early morning Sunday, 2 a.m., Tales from 2 a.m., because Brian's probably still not done sleeping it off. He probably waits to go to bed after his 2 a.m. stories the night before. Lots of good times. You've been on that show. Kevin's now been on that show a couple times. Lots of good things coming with that show. We've still got the audio podcast coming out. You know, you got the Ride or Die crew from, which is those that religiously listen to Jeff's Let's Ride on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. You got Michael's Live Mike on Tuesdays, My Stat Geek Thursdays. You've got I can't just call it Cap.
By the way,
it's the Cap. I can't remember. It's Matty P that does it. I can't remember the name of the show, but it's about salary cap stuff. We've got that's brought up in there too. What's up?
And a quick shout out to the Jerry Cherry Band for the music for
absolutely
comes in on those audio only podcasts. That's really nice.
Seriously, if you are here on YouTube or Facebook and you don't go to and listen to the audio only stuff, go check it out. If for nothing else, to hear the music intros, because we've got Jerry Cherry Band, all except Live Mike uses something. I don't even know what he uses, but for my show and for Jeff's show, we've got musical intros by Jerry Cherry Band. They're great, good stuff. If not, just check them out on YouTube as well. And of course, make sure you're checking out BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. We are still coming at you with content. I had an article on Sunday that you might even want to go back and look at if you didn't. It was why what Drew Brees did with his contract does not work with Ben Roethlisberger. It just doesn't. They're night and day different.
Yep.
There were some people that say this is showing what Ben could do. No. There's no way Ben can do this, because it's just not the same situation. You can go check that one out. And various other things. But until then, you just have us coming back next Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. What do you think about that, Rich?
I'm not doing it yet.
Oh, I'm trying to set you up. All right.
Sorry, I've been waiting all thing. I got to send one quick message out there. Thaddeus, because Kyle told me Thaddeus had asked a question to me earlier. I hadn't seen it. Thaddeus, the answer to the question Kyle was telling me about was thick enough to ride a snowmobile on.
There you go. A couple of things real quick. Andrew wants to know if Maddie does the salary cap in dingo dollars. That's pretty good. And then, of course, Thaddeus wants to say that T. Martin was a great article. He actually sent me the information on that. I'd seen that, got caught up doing other things. He's like, hey, you should do this article. And I did, all because Thaddeus brought it up. So that's just how it goes. We're a big community, and we love it. And we'll be back with you next Tuesday.
Can't wait.